welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. It's the midpoint of the season, so I thought it'd be a good time for me to do my mid-season driver rankings. This whole concept will be split into two parts. So the first part will be me going from 22nd to 10th, and the second part of the video will be me going from 10th to 1st. It will be split into two separate videos. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on with it. And in 22nd, this is harsh because this particular car, I think you know what it is, has been absolutely diabolical for the most part. I've got Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. Yeah, I mean, actually, if you look at his qualifying pace over the course of the season, he's got the biggest deficit to any teammate on the grid. He's, I think, on average, like 3.5 tenths off Alonso in qualifying. I think his qualifying form has improved. Not that it matters much, because up until Hungary, that Aston Martin, the two Aston Martin cars were lining up 21st and 22nd more or less. So, yeah, I feel bad, putting him that low down, but. He's been consistently shown up by Fernando Alonso, not just in qualifying, but in the races as well. I mean, he's almost been whitewashed again by Alonso. Had a very good race, though, at Hungary, actually. Finished 13th of that particular race. So, I mean, he deserves credit for that. But other than that, there's not really much to say, really. Lance Stroll, 22nd. And in 21st, I've got Valtteri Bottas. His form has improved as of late. At the start of the season, I was quite concerned, actually, whether he has got it to be in F1 anymore, because based on pure pace, he was a long way behind Perez at most races, and I thought, a bit worrying this. I mean, he was getting dominated, I would say, in qualifying and the races. But then I think he started to close a gap. He got within a couple tenths of Perez at the likes of Japan and Spain, and I thought, okay, we're going in the right direction. And actually, the last three races, he's out-qualified Perez. So yeah, I mean, I think if he can keep that form up, keep out-qualifying and keep out-racing Perez, then, I think that'll be the target for him. I mean, in that Cadillac car, he's unlikely to score points. I have got Esteban Ocon in the Haas. He was given an ultimatum prior to this season that, he needs to step it up. And he hasn't really done that at all, has he? I mean, I feel like he's declined even further. I feel like his decline has continued from the middle of last year, where from the middle of last year he was getting outperformed by Behrman at almost every race, and that's continued into this year. Yeah, I'm questioning, his place on the F1 grid at this stage. If it wasn't for the likes of Japan, Monaco, where he scored points, he actually would be last in this list. Because he hasn't done anything in that Haas car. I think Behrman's on 18 points and Ocon's on 1 point. Actually, sorry, he's on 3 points. And I think that's pretty telling of how bad he's been. Again, in qualifying, he's nowhere. In the races, he's nowhere. Actually, I think Silverstone summed it up, actually. I remember Behrman got tagged by Albon at the start, and Ocon and Behrman still finished ahead of him, and recovered and still finished ahead of Ocon, despite Behrman being taken out at the start. There was also Austria as well, where Ocon actually got a really good start and gained a few places and still finished behind Behrman at the end. For a lot of these weekends, he's been absolutely nowhere relative to Behrman. So yeah, I'll be amazed if he's on the grid next year, unfortunately. Lucky to actually be 20th, because, like I said, without those points scoring finishes, and there have been many of them, and ironically, those points finishes, as well as Hungary, Those three tracks are the only races where he's had the measure of Bearman. Every other track he's been dominated and thrashed by Bearman. It's just not good enough. Place I've got Franco Colapinto, and the simple reason as to why Colapinto is this far down the list is because Gasly's on 42 points and Colapinto is on 19. So that's a significant difference in the driver standings. I mean, Gasly's got almost double the points of Colapinto. You know, Colapinto's had some weekends like Australia, Japan and Monaco where he's been absolutely nowhere relative to Gasly and finishing behind cars, which, I mean, we've got to remember, this at the start of the season, the Alpine had the quickest midfield car. And, you know, Colapinto was, you know, sometimes finishing outside the points. I mean, it's worth noting, especially at Monaco, you know, Gasly went on to finish on the podium. And Colapinto was outside the points. But then you've got race weekends like Miami in Canada, where he finishes best of the rest in P6 and P7. And there's other races where he's been competitive with Gasly. So it hasn't been, you know, a disaster. It's been far from a disaster. But, I mean, if he wants to stay at Alpine, I think he will get a contract extension. But if he wants to stay at Alpine long term, he needs to be a bit more consistent with his results and in terms of his competitiveness relative to Pierre Gasly. He's had a very hit and miss season. I mean, it's worth noting that if Alpine, if Colapinto scored some more points, they might be still ahead of RB in the Constructors' Championship. In 18th place, I've got Alex Albon. He's, to be honest, he hasn't had a very good season. I know that Williams' car is a bad car. It's the 9th fastest car on the grid, and it hasn't got much downforce, and it hasn't got a good chassis. But Sainz, 90% of the time, has been much better than him. Miami and Monaco are the only two standout performances, I would say, of Albon's season. And actually, if you look at the head-to-head between the Williams teammates, they've got the second largest qualifying gap on the grid, actually. I think they're separated on average by 3/10. And, you know, I mean, Albon often finds himself knocked out in Q1, and he's not even close to making it through to Q2 usually. I mean, he's usually a few tenths behind Sainz. And I know Sainz is a good driver, and I'm not saying Albon has had a terrible season or anything like that. I don't think he warrants losing his seat. But I just wish he'd close that gap a little bit more. I mean, as of late, to be fair, he has closed the gap and has started, I wouldn't say to match Sainz, but it'd line up, I think lately there's been less than a tenth between the two. He needs to deliver that more often, not just in qualifying, but in the races, just be, within a handful of seconds, let's say, at the finish line. Because, I mean, there's been occasions, actually, where Albon's been closer to fighting or being sort of too close to the likes of the Cadillacs and, well, particularly Perez and Ocon as well, whereas he should be closer to Sainz, because that Williams car is faster than the Cadillac for sure, even though the Williams isn't a good car. So yeah, I've got to punish Albon for that. Nico Hülkenberg, and this could be considered harsh, considering the multitude of reliability issues that Hülkenberg has encountered. The Audi hasn't had good reliability this year. I mean, unfortunately, some of the reason why he is down this low is because with some of the reliability issues he's had, for example, at Australia, he had a DNS. We can't even judge his race performance. And similar story with Miami, he retired on lap 7 in that race, I think. So we can't really judge his race performances at those two tracks. So that automatically lowers his ranking, unfortunately, and it's not his fault. You have also got Spain. I'm going to list his retirements where he could have scored points because and with bad luck. He's Monaco. He was on course to score, I think, ninth place. But he had a collision with Carlos Sainz, and it was a bit of an unfortunate collision actually because I don't feel like Hulkenberg had anywhere to go in that situation. So he was robbed of 2 points there. Liam Lawson at Spain flicked a piece of gravel. He clipped the car ahead. Lawson, who he was battling with at the time. Lawson clipped the gravel, and the gravel flicked up, and a stone hit the kill switch on the Audi car, which meant that Hulkenberg had to withdraw. Which meant Hulkenberg withdrew from the Spanish Grand Prix when he was on course for points there. Evenly matched the two Audi guys. I should also mention Australia where he DNS'd. Bortoleto scored 2 points. Finished ninth, I believe. I think he finished ninth there. So if Adam Hulkenberg kept running in that race, the chances are he would have scored a point as well. But that's racing, unfortunately. Points at the Hungarian Grand Prix and picks up a ninth place, so he finally got off the mark. He's been incredibly unlucky this season. He's had 6 11th place finishes, I believe, in the first half of the season alone, which just sums up his season really. He's not had a bad season at all. I can't really think of many races where he's underperformed given his machinery. I think he's always got good performance out of it. I think the only 2 races I can think of where he didn't have particularly good races was at Belgium and at Silverstone where he spun on his own. But other than that, he's not done a bad job at all. I think actually the drivers from 17th above have all had good seasons, so it's no discredit to him why he's down here in 17th. Yeah, not all of it, like hardly any of it, has been his fault really as to why he's been down there. He hasn't been far off Bortoleto. I don't think there isn't much to choose between them overall in terms of pure performance. I would give maybe Bortoleto the slight edge, but in terms of the race head-to-heads, I haven't checked them out yet, but I'm sure they're very, very close. On pure performance, there's hardly anything to separate them. They've got the closest qualifying margin as well. In 16th place, I have got Sergio Perez in the Cadillac. The returning Sergio Perez. I think he's justified his place on the F1 grid again. I think he has. For the most part, he's got the most out of that Cadillac car. On occasions, he's been, fighting I wouldn't say fighting, but getting near the, getting on terms, let's say, with the Haas drivers and the Williams drivers. He's been there or thereabouts with them, and there've been parts of the season where he's sort of bridged the gap between Aston Martin and like the likes of Williams and Haas. He's been sort of in the middle of those two groups, which he's done well in that respect. He's more often than not had the measure on Bottas. Lately, though, his perform has dropped off a little bit. I mean, to be fair, that Cadillac, not just with Perez, and mostly with Bottas, actually, I would say, the Cadillac drivers have suffered reliability issues, which has played a part. The reason why he's not high, it would have actually been a place higher, is just because he lined up incorrectly in his grid spot at Monaco. And if it wasn't for that, he lined up incorrectly twice. It wasn't just the once. The first time, he kind of got away with it in a way because he kind of recovered his race up to that point with retirements and, what have you. But then he, on the second restart, he lined up incorrectly in his grid spot again. And that cost him the final point in the end because he got a post-race penalty, which dropped him outside the points, and Alonso got the point in the end. And who knows? Aston Martin, given their recent updates, they might score points again, but I mean, I have to mark him down for that because let's say if Aston Martin, you know, don't significantly improve from this point onwards, that point could be very costly in terms of championship money and resources come the end of the season. So that's why I've marked him down on. Also, I think Canada, he actually finished P11 in the sprint race of that at Canada, but he squeezed Lawson off the track. But I mean, still, that was a really impressive drive, actually, even with that error, because he finished P11 on the road there against much quicker cars. I don't even know how he managed that. That was a really great drive in the sprint race by him, and he was finishing. He was ahead of Ocon as well in that race. So I mean, he has been able to make the difference actually, despite being in this comfortably the second worst car on the grid. Perez, I think he's justified his place on the F1 grid again. I mean, his target for the rest of the season is because I don't think Hellat will score points for the rest of the season. His target is to out qualify and outrace Bottas more often than not for the rest of the season. In 15th place, and this might seem quite high for a lot of you, and I understand if you've got a lower, but I've got Fernando Alonso. I sound like an Alonso fanboy, but yeah, for the most part, he's done everything he can in that horrendous Aston Martin car. Really, really bad car. No downforce in that car whatsoever, and a terrible engine. But there have been some flashes of brilliance there. He scored a point at Monaco, mostly through luck. But you have to pick up the pieces and capitalise and be there and be in it to win it. And he was in it to win it. In the end, he scored the final point. So that's racing. And Miami actually had a really good race there. I think he finished 15th. He finished ahead of both Cadillacs, despite the fact that Cadillac had the faster car. So there's actually, if you look at, the earlier races, actually, you'll see that Alonso actually was able to actually fight the Cadillacs, despite being in a slower car, and I think that deserves a little bit of praise. He also had a good race at Hungary, finished 14th with the upgrades. So yeah, I just hope for the rest of the season, I think they've got Aston Martin have got an engine upgrade. Hopefully we can see Alonso have a car that gives them the ability to finish in the points or near the points. That'd be good to see. Because I still believe he has a lot to offer to the sport, despite being 45 years old. I think he's still got this speed. Maybe, I mean, he's not at his very best anymore, but I still think he's at a very good level. I mean, last year proved that. I had him 4th in my driver rankings last year. So, yeah, Alonso, I can't rank him any higher than this. 14th place, we have got Arvid Lindblad. And Arvid Lindblad's actually had a pretty good rookie season. He's been matching Liam Lawson a lot of the tracks so far this season. I wouldn't say he's been quite as good as Liam Lawson, but for a rookie, he's been, and the only rookie on the grid, he's been very good. He hasn't looked like a rookie. He's very level-headed. He's a mature head on young shoulders. He's scored points consistently. He's got a very, very good car, but he's getting good performance out of it week in, week out. He's been unlucky with certain strategy calls that haven't gone well. Certain safety car and virtual safety car interventions which haven't gone his way, like at Japan where he was ahead of Lawson until the safety car came out because of Behrman's crash, and that was a voice crack then. Also Hungary as well, where he lost out on points as a result of the virtual safety car intervention for Oscar Piastri's stricken car. But, I mean, he's been very, very close to Liam Lawson. I can't think of many weekends where he's underperformed in that car. He's always, put the car where it deserves to be. I think it'll be interesting actually, and as the season's gone on, he's got closer and closer to Lawson. In fact, the last three qualifying sessions, he's actually beaten Liam Lawson. And he's only 18. This is um, this is this is basically the worst we're going to see him of Arvid Lindblad. He's only going to get better from here. So the fact that he's already well, when I say matching, like a position behind and finishing within a couple seconds come the checkered flag, the fact that he's matching Liam Lawson at this stage of his career, 18 years old, is very impressive. Because Liam Lawson's had a good season. He's having the season of his life right now. So yeah, Arvid Lindblad. I'd be interested to see how he gets on in the second half of the season. I think his target should be to beat Liam Lawson more often than not. I think he's got it in him to do that. In 13th place, I have got Gabriele Bortoleto in the Audi. Yeah, he's had a pretty good season, I have to say. I'd say he's matching Hulkenberg, if not like ahead by the tiniest margins. He's scored on 4 occasions this season. Is doing, I'd say, a pretty good job. And yeah, like Hulkenberg, he's been unlucky not to score more points because he's had 4 11th place finishes. So if things went slightly differently, he would have been on maybe 3 or 4 more points. But that's F1. I think his target now, the Audi is becoming a good car now. Actually, it's the Audi doesn't have the strongest engine on the grid, far from it. But I mean, even at power tracks, it seems to be doing reasonably well. And at high downforce circuits like Hungary, it seems to be pretty strong. So I think Bortoleto's target for the rest of the year is to beat Hulkenberg as frequently as possible and keep scoring points. In 12th place, I've got Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson actually is on 43 points compared to Lindblad's 23. Now that, I do think, Lawson definitely deserves credit for this year. He's he's in the form of his life. For this season, going into this season, I wasn't certain as to whether he deserved a place in F1. But I think this year has proven that he absolutely deserves 3 to Lawson. I will say, I know this is going to sound like I'm hating on Lawson. By the way, I don't have an agenda against him. I try and judge these drivers objectively. But I do feel like I've gone for Isaac Hadjar, and I don't mean this disparagingly. Isaac Hadjar's Caesar reminds me of Valtteri Bottas in terms of Isaac Hadjar has had some really great qualifyings, actually. I mean, he started off the year with a bang with a P3 qualifying at Melbourne. I thought, wow, this guy's really quick in qualifying. He is a demon over lap. He hasn't been that far behind. On average, there's been a 0.2 difference between Hadjar and Verstappen actually in qualifying. You consider how badly the likes of Perez, Albon, Lawson, etc. have struggled in that Red Bull. I mean, there's even been occasions where he's only been a 10th behind. And actually, there's been 2 occasions where he has been ahead legitimately at Japan and at Silverstone. 2 times where Hadjar has beaten Verstappen. The trouble is I've had to mark him down for the races because whilst he has had some bad luck with reliability and stuff in the races, could have finished on the podium at Monaco if it wasn't for that reliability issue he had in the race in terms of losing power. His race performances haven't been quite as good. I mean, he's often finishing like 15, 20 seconds behind Verstappen, which, is still respectable. But, he hasn't, in the races, his race execution probably does need a bit of work, I feel. I feel like that's the area he needs to work on for the rest of the season. We're not expecting Hadjar, obviously, to beat Verstappen. But if we can get a little bit close in the races, I think he's done more than enough to justify another season in Red Bull, by the way. More than enough. I don't see many drivers actually doing a better job in that Red Bull car, to be honest. I think he's doing pretty well. I just would like to see him work on his race execution. Part one of my driver rankings from 22nd to 11th. Comment down below your thoughts on my driver rankings. Are there any that you disagree with? Let me know how you thought the drivers got on this season. Let me know your driver rankings, and I'll see you in part two, which will be in a couple of days. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.